morning, APUSH. I'm Jonathan, and we have an exciting show in store for you. It's February 30th, 1861, 6 in the morning. We're excited, we're pumped, coffee filled, and today's topic of the day is revolution of transportation. I remember when I was a y-boy, we didn't have these things, these fancy cars, big trains and boats. Oh man, the world has turnpikes and turnpikes. Oh, the world has changed. Well, turnpike without stuff. Moving on. Forget about the earliest sign of transportation revolution, the road. And who better to talk about roads than the road expert herself, Sahar.
Hello.
Tell me about this Cumberland Road that I've been hearing about.
Well, this national road was funded by the federal government. It is 591 miles long and stretches from Cumberland, Maryland to Illinois. But the building got interrupted by the War of 1812. And by 1852, the state and federal government joined forces to finally complete the project.
But what exactly made this road so special?
Well, Jonathan, unlike the old roads, this one is made of crushed stone. Now people don't have to worry about flooded or muddy roads.
It's like it would hurt the wagon. Would this road be safe for wagons?
Yes, it will. In fact, that is another benefit of crushed stone. It prevents flooding and mud, which means there will be fewer accidents on the road and traveling will be much faster and safer.
Wow, that's great. So tell me about roads. Why have these things popped up so much since the War of 1812?
To be honest with you, Jonathan, roads were neglected because railroads are usually the choice of transportation. And not only that, roads were mostly narrow and unpaved. They're muddy in the winter and dry.
Why did the federal government fund the building of these roads?
They actually didn't. Roads were usually funded by local government or built under charter granted by states. The Cumberland Road is an exception because that was the only time federal and state governments both came together to construct.
Tell me what these new turnpikes are being used for.
Well, turnpikes are basically broad paved highways like the ones in Europe at the time. Turnpike is a strange name for a highway, but that's because as drivers came to the toll gate, there was a barrier of sharp spikes. The spikes were moved aside when people paid the toll.
Well, that makes much more sense.
Yes, and also in 1794, a private company succeeded in completing the Lancaster Turnpike in Philadelphia. This resulted in a turnpike building boom that lasted 20 years, and nearly 4,000 miles of turnpikes were made.
Wow! Exclamation point. But how did they get the money to build all those turnpikes?
The money came mostly from state governments and sometimes from individuals.
Well, thank you, Sahar, for that fascinating segment on roads and turnpikes. We'll be right back after a commercial break.
In a world with Ebola and ISIS, Ebola-ISIS, one man tries to escape it all. Day 13. Without water, without anything. I'm the last man surviving, trying to escape Ebola-ISIS. I don't know what to do, guys. Help me.
Get out! I'm ISIS, and I'm here with Ebola.
Just kidding, it's me! Don't die like me, because I took a road. If you take a turnpike, you'll survive Ebola-ISIS. What is a turnpike? It's just a fancy word for toll roads. These were built and privatized by joint stock companies rather than funded by the government. These are barred off until you pay the fee. But why pay for a turnpike when you can take the road for free, you ask? Oh, one, you'll survive Ebola-ISIS, and two, turnpikes are safe and dependable roads for travelers just like you and me. And they're useful for moving supplies throughout inland towns. So now that I have enlightened you with turnpikes, pick up your horse and go to the turnpike near you. And if you don't have a horse, then you're a loser! Welcome back, APUSH lovers. Enough about inland transportation. We can't forget about the water. Let us talk to the peasant who makes steamboats himself, William Tam. It's a pleasure to have you here, William.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I heard the development of the steamboat is fantastic!
With the newly produced steamboat, developed by Robert Fulton, has worked splendidly because powerful steam engine, which relies on steam. This has allowed the boat to defy down current and other resisting force. In addition, it has opened the south and west of the U.S. to settlement by providing more reliable and quicker transportation using navigational water system.
Well, that was very interesting. Then how about the canal craze?
Well, canals were built for shipping goods quicker and cheaper, such as the Erie Canal, connecting Albany, New York to Lake Erie. This brought a lot of prosperity and additional settlement to New York. Furthermore, it lowered shipping costs from Buffalo, New York to New York City, New York, from $100 to only a measly of $5.
Fantastic! Oh, how new transportation on water has helped this nation so much. And lastly, what is your insight on clipper ships?
Well, clipper ships were long and narrow boats that glide across the sea using tall masts and sails. Clipper ship could outrun any steamboat with a fair breeze. But, however, they sacrificed cargo space for speed and helped transport people during the time of the gold rush in California and Australia. For additional information on steamboat, here's a picture. And they were built in 1807, could carry hundreds of tons of freight and dozens of passengers as well. Here's a picture of the Erie Canal. It started being built in 1817 and finished in 1825. It connected the Mohawk River and Hudson River together. In addition, the consequences of the canal was that long-established local market structure was swept away by an emerging continental economy. In addition, prices on potato dropped, causing farmers who relied on growing potato to go find jobs elsewhere. Some became mill hands, which speed up industrialization in the U.S.
Well, that was a very interesting interview. Upcoming next is News You Need to Know with May Vu.
Hi, Jonathan.
Good morning, May. How are the canals coming along?
We're on railroads, not canals, Jonathan.
How are the railroads coming along?
Well, as canal boom slowed down in the late 1830s, railroad boom has kicked into higher gear.
Well, when did these beautiful things begin to construct?
Well, it began construction in 1825, originally concentrated in Northeast by eve of the Civil War. Lines reached as far as St. Joseph, Missouri. By 1840s, 300 miles of track had been laid in America, and investments in railroads outstripped those in canals.
Well, who owned these things?
Early railroad roads were developed by private investors. Because of this, contractors used wooden rails covered by iron bars, causing repairs, fracturing their slow growth. Railroads offered more direct routes and were a faster year-round service.
Weren't they used to connect canal to another canal?
Yes, they were originally, but they usually carried mostly passengers at first, but because many products and manufactured goods needed to be traded around throughout the colonies, they were also carried on railroads. Here's a picture of the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. It was chartered in 1828.
Our cast to you. Have a
Fantastic day!